Welcome back into another episode of MnM Going Deep. It is divisional round of the NFL playoffs. We had some not so good games in the wild card round, but it was a decent week of football. I won't call it a fun week. A lot of teams that got into the playoffs got their butts kicked, and this is really where you separate the men from the boys. Cole, rough week for you, buddy.
It was a good one. It was a fun while it lasted football season for me. And now I'm going to be depressed until next September.
Yeah, it's a long road when your team gets eliminated to get back into, the NFL grind, NFL season. It's uh, 7, 8 months of just waiting for your next opportunity, and you're right there with me. The only positive outlook I have is that the Browns are holding the number 2 overall pick in the draft, and they're gonna fuck that up, so it doesn't really matter. Um, but we'll get right into it. I know we didn't have a week 18 episode. That is partially due to me, you guys. I apologize. Job got kind of in the way of that one. I was sent out to California for work, and Cole and I were having difficulty kind of getting a schedule together with how late I was working over there, and Cole still being back on the East Coast. 3 hour time difference isn't fun. So, apologies for week 18, but we're back. Covering Wild Card Weekend and previewing this divisional round, which should be a good one. So, let's recap the Wild Card round, Wild Card Weekend. While recapping Week 18, Bengals didn't make the playoffs. Surprise, surprise. And that's about it. That's all of Week 18. Wild Card Weekend started on Saturday, January 11th. The Chargers were visiting the Houston Texans. A lot of people were on the Chargers. Didn't end up going that way. Houston 32, Chargers 12. Chargers had a great season, first season under Jim Harbaugh. The sky is definitely bright for the up and coming Chargers. It was good to see them back in the playoffs. Good to see Justin Herbert with a good season. They figured out some things, but they don't have any weapons really on that offense. J.K. Dobbins was banged up this season after I think what was it, week 12 when they played the Ravens. They never really found their groove again after he got banged up, even though he did come back. Positive side for them is they do have a stud in Lad McConkey as a wide receiver, and him and Justin Herbert showed off their connection in the playoffs. That was the only connection that Justin Herbert had with wide receivers, and that was the detriment to their loss. Justin Herbert forced a bunch of passes. He threw 4 interceptions in this game. Didn't look good, and that is like the talk around the town right now. And then the other side of the coin, Texans, their defense stood tall and kicked the shit out of the Chargers offense. CJ Stroud, we talked about it all year, him not really having a groove with that Texans offense, and they found a groove in this one, and boy, they did they. A broken play, a bad snap fumble to CJ Stroud with a wild scramble to a Hutchinson. I don't even really know his first name. Pass that gained like 30 yards, and that got the Texans offense rolling. And then the second half, they rode Joe Mixon the rest of the way, 106 yards and a touchdown. What do you got?
Yeah, I Xavier Hutchinson, I believe. I do think they two thoughts on that. One, the Chargers had the ball, or I mean they were up 6-0 and it could have been 14-0.
Hmm.
They they kind of had one of those like Minnesota Vikings against the Lions collapses when they got out of scoring position, but they were just the first quarter, like those first two possessions back and forth, you would have thought the Chargers were going to win by 20. Not even, I mean, they were going to win by double digits, you would have thought, in like those first two possessions of each team's game. And
Hmm.
then, kind of like you said, those magic plays were happening, and the Texans were, which usually they happen against the Texans.
Yep.
But it's kind of like what's fun about Chargers and Texans, and I think this is what I heard was it was the first time they've played each other in the playoffs. the Chargers and the Texans are the same exact team when it gets to the postseason. They
Yep.
both get to the postseason and they both lose in the wild card round. And it's like you kind of get. I mean, obviously the Texans didn't do that last year against your Browns. We know that, but like typically the Texans and Chargers are. I mean, when's the last time either of them made it to the AFC Championship game? Like I have no clue if
Chargers is
you have.
2007, I believe, and the Texans, I'm unsure if they've made it to the
Yeah, I don't think
AFC
they have.
Championship because that's
And
the divisional round is when Deshaun Watson had that lead against Mahomes and then
yeah,
lost, I'm pretty
24
sure.
nothing and lost. Yeah. So bottom line there, come on, this guy needs to move. Road rage. I just think that was like a fun game like to witness because you're like, all right, somebody's got to win, and you know the fate of these two teams historically is not gonna be the fate for one of them. And then that's a good Chargers defense. Like they're like I want to say top five in total defense, and they might even be top three.
I think they were the
And
number one scoring defense in the league.
that's what I'm. That's right. It could have been just scoring, but I remember. Yeah, I knew they were number one at something. And then, I mean, they had a lot of star players, and I'm just kind of shocked at Herbert like not playing well. Herbert's always to me like I just remember. Oh my God, he was on fire the first two drives. But the thing is,
I think
I
he's
feel like
streaky. I think he's like a streaky quarterback. He'll be like lights out one drive and then he'll be dog shit on the next drive.
I think he's got to be to me like his touch on his ball. He kind of has that Kaepernick throw, and he's better than Kaepernick. Don't get me wrong, but I'm saying you know how Kaepernick would just throw line drives,
Yeah.
and he doesn't know how to put touch and an arc on the ball. That's Herbert. I feel like Herbert has a freaking cannon, but he can't throw touch on the ball like Russell Wilson puts too much touch on the ball. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's where I'm like, oh, the ball he throws is like one time he like launched it at a guy in the flat, like a running back. I'm like, no, you think that guy's gonna catch that shit? Like, no shot. But that's whatever. That's all I got.
What the fuck? Yeah, I don't really know what to think of the Chargers. They You are right in the fact that like that's like what we expected out of them, but I guess it's not what I expect out of a Jim Harbaugh team, the way that they kind of performed in that game. Um and then the Texans, D'Amico Ryans had that defense ready to go. And I guess they saw some holes on film or in some later games in the season of like how to attack that Chargers offense because they were roaring and they got pressure on Justin Herbert and he made mistakes. Like the flip of the game is CJ Stroud's immaculate play, but what came, like how that play came to be is CJ Stroud on the drive before that threw a terrible interception trying to throw the ball out of bounds, and Leonard on the Chargers makes a very good play on the ball, gets both feet in bounds somehow, and then the very next play, Justin Herbert has a rollout to the right, looks back to his left, tries to get a pass to Quentin Johnston, and throws it back to his left, and he gets picked off. Uh, that was like the beginning of like the end for the Chargers was that interception right there. They had a breath
Yeah,
of life when they had him at the Texans at third down on that drive, and then the fumbled snap play, but they just couldn't get themselves out of it. And once the Texans started pounding the rock with Joe Mixon, it was over.
yeah,
But that's all we got out of that game. Chargers season ends in disappointment. Texans surprisingly move on. And when I say surprisingly, I'm not saying that they're a bad football team. I'm just saying that most people were taking the Chargers going into that game. We'll go ahead
Question: Are
on.
you recording? Are you recording before we go to the next game?
Yes, we are recording.
Okay, good.
Uh,
Just to make sure. Make sure.
all right, on to the next game. Saturday night football. We got Steelers at Ravens. Steelers 14, Ravens 28. Okay, so all year long I had a bit going that the Steelers were the best team in football.
Yeah,
And
that's I told you I was right.
I was proven so right. And my Twitter
Remember, I
account
was saying the Ravens. I was
and
always saying the Ravens better.
my thing was if they matched up in the playoffs, the reason like I would raise an eyebrow a few times is just the fact of like what we talked about last year, and you stood by it,
Tomlin.
is no Lamar Jackson in the playoffs.
Oh, both. I thought both narratives were going to come true. I was like, I thought that I had money on Steelers for this game, and I want like I'm glad that Ravens won. I think the Bills Ravens that's the best matchup you can get. But like I wanted the Steelers to make it close, but they're not they're not good.
No, they're not a good football team at all, and the Cleveland Browns are not a good football team, and the Cleveland Browns uh handedly beat them in a week this year. And you could say that about the Ravens, but that game came down to the wire. Um, I just like to rub it in their face that the Browns beat them. Anyways, TJ Watt, is he past his prime?
Probably not, but he might not be getting 20 sacks every game or every season because he's going to be triple covered or triple covered. Triple.
Uh,
He's going to get blocked. He's
he
going to get
doesn't
double blocked, stuff like that.
he doesn't get double teamed at the rate as other pass rushers do.
Okay. Yeah, the Miles Garrett, we got to stop the AFC North hate. Bottom line, he's still top four pass rusher, top three pass rusher in the league. I will say this: they're getting older. They're an older team. I'm interested in if Russell Wilson stays. I don't know what the contract outlook
It's
is. I think
it
he's on a two
sounds
year
like
deal.
Fields. It sounds like they're going to stick with Fields, which is weird because they went away from Fields.
Yeah, and um, I thought they should have gone to Fields early in that game. Like they've, I would have thought, and I know this isn't something you ever like encourage as a team, but like I feel like Tomlin did it during the season, and like screw it if he did it, like he can. But I feel like he should have just given Fields a shot early on, and then if that didn't work out, go back to Wilson. But like just give Fields a shot to see if like he's the juice they need.
And,
And that
and
didn't happen.
in my opinion, also the score is not indicative of how easily the Ravens beat the Steelers in this game. Like
Yeah.
the Steelers were struggling to do anything on offense. One, two, the Ravens' offense was running the ball up and down the field, down the throat of the Steelers' defense, and it didn't matter what they did. They could not stop Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. It was not a problem to run the ball for them. And when Lamar needed a pass, he was elite. He honestly, the stat sheet doesn't show like, him tearing it up, but I believe he only threw like four incomplete passes, and one was like a throwaway.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't think there's like the Ravens should have dominated this game. And they just didn't and couldn't. But
I don't know about couldn't. I think that they outpossessed them by like I'm trying to find the possession chart. They had the ball for like the bulk majority of this game. Yeah, 40 minutes to 20 minutes in this game. They had the ball and they were just running it and the clock just kept running and they didn't have to score a lot of points. It almost looked like they were doing the bare minimum to beat them and they didn't have to play like up to what their full potential is. They're like, these guys are trash. We could just do this, run this ball down your throat, and try and stop me, and they fucking couldn't because the Pittsburgh Steelers defense sucked.
yeah, no, they what they used to be in the beginning of the season, I think was just a fundamentally sound, they didn't make mistakes team. It wasn't like they still weren't jazzy. They weren't sexy on offense. But what I've said, and I was watching the game with a bunch of Steelers fans on Saturday night, and they were just it was like a Ravens and a Steelers mosh pit. Like everyone was there wearing a Steelers or a Ravens jersey, and it was a giant two-story block. Regardless, the point was I was so mad. I was probably more mad than the Steelers fans because get the ball to George Pickens. And like every time you throw the ball to George Pickens, something good happens. And even if it's like he's not open. He's going to draw coverage. He's going to draw. Obviously, he had an offensive PI on that one, but like 80% of the time, like he's one of those Des Bryant in his prime players. Like George Pickens is like a prime Des Bryant. That's who I would compare him to. He's just you get him the ball and he's aggressive. It's his ball. And the Steelers don't have anyone else like that. And I'm sick of them trying to get the ball to Calvin Austin all the time. Like I get it. Calvin Austin's the third wheel on that receiving core, and he's just going to be doing the gadget stuff, and he might be open. But stop trying to make him like the guy that's you're throwing the deep ball to and launching it to. And that's what
Something
Russell Wilson kept doing. It.
something also that like made me frustrated in this game about the Steelers like watching them is obviously like in the beginning of the game the announcer said that Mike Tomlin was going to go to Jalen Warren and he's going to ride the hot hand. Like, I didn't think Jalen Warren had been performing that well over the last few weeks in order for them to make that type of statement that, like, hey, it's his backfield now. And then when you, like, look at the game and what is, like, transpiring, Najee Harris had a better game than Jalen Warren. And all these Pittsburgh Steelers fans are like, we got to move on from Najee and uh, just give the ball to Jalen Warren. I'm thinking in the back of my head, uh, Nick Chubb is, not really the same guy, maybe. Wouldn't be so against signing Najee Harris to the Browns.
I think Najee Harris is overrated as a first round pick. I think he's a good running back. I don't think he'll ever be great. Like I think he's always just going to be a good player. Um,
I think he's solid.
to be honest, I think AJ Dillon is is just about as good as Najee Harris.
AJ Dillon is not good. I have watched so much AJ Dillon, he's not good.
I have also watched a lot of AJ Dillon. I think AJ Dillon is just he's slow. He's the same mold as Najee Harris. They're slow. It takes them like 6 yards to get going. That is
Hmm.
enough to break. They can break tackles, but like they're slow enough to where the defensive line can catch up to them. Like it's not. It's just you have to like block things perfectly for them to get to the point where they can just bowl through people.
All right, that's enough about that game. Ravens dominate. Steelers, goodbye. On to Sunday. After the first game of Sunday, Broncos at Bills. Broncos 7, Bills 31. Broncos hopped out to this game with a hot start, 7-0. Bo Nix to Troy Franklin over the top of the defense. Everybody was like, look out for those Broncos. Next thing you know, Josh Allen gets the football and he just starts doing Josh Allen things. And it was almost every single time that it got to third or second and short or fourth and short, Josh Allen used his legs or baited the Denver defense into thinking he was going to use his legs and he would use his arm, and he just made a play and converted into a new set of downs, and he just kept moving the ball down the field. This was also another game where I think that 31-7, like that is a 24-point discrepancy, but in my mind I'm like that's still like not that bad because it's only three touchdowns. The Bills kicked the shit out of the Broncos. Like, wiped the floor with them. Like, they had no chance. After that first drive, Bo Nix and the Denver offense did nothing. The Buffalo defense figured out what they were trying to do, and it was almost like they struggled to get across the 50. And don't let me forget that at the end of the first half, the Denver offense did have the ball moving and have had a chance to tie the game going into halftime, and Will Lutz missed a field goal.
Yeah. This was a boring game. I mean, if you're a Bills fan, it was fun because it was stress free. But um, Broncos impressed me. That's a successful season for sure for them.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah. In that
I
in
still think
that
they have a
way,
lot to be
yeah.
looking forward to. Yeah. Like, think about this. You're much happier as a Broncos fan right now than you are as a Steelers fan.
Oh, yeah. The Pittsburgh Steelers are in a pit of despair, and the pit of despair is just going to keep cycling the wheel because they don't have an elite quarterback and they haven't had an elite quarterback since like, well, like obviously you'll say Ben Roethlisberger, but it's not like Ben Roethlisberger at the end of his career was elite and in that realm of being able to compete with even an older Tom Brady, a young Patrick Mahomes, a young Josh Allen. He was not able to compete with those dudes or beat those dudes. The last playoff win that the Steelers have is against Alex Smith, and the playoff win before that is against Matt Moore, who came in as a sub for the Dolphins. I believe that's a
Yeah,
Tannehill year. That's a Tannehill year. He got
yeah,
he got hurt the week before, and then he couldn't play in the wild card round. The Steelers beat a Matt Moore led Dolphins team. Yeah, Denver's got a good quarterback. Bo Nix, arguably like rookie of the year type of season. They have a solid defense. They have a great defensive coordinator in Vance Joseph, and they're keeping a lot of good pieces. I would say they need more weapons around maybe Bo Nix. Sean Payton is a big proprietor of backfield by committee, but I wouldn't put it past him that like to get a game-breaking type running back in that backfield like he did with Alvin Kamara or Reggie Bush.
yeah. No, I I agree.
All right, we'll go into the next game Sunday afternoon. Eagles, Packers. Packers at Eagles. Packers 10, Eagles 22. I'll give you the floor, my friend.
Well, the first play of the game was bullshit, and the story of the game. I'm not going to say we lost because of that, but that changes things for sure.
Definitely
Um,
does. Yes.
our defense played really well. I mean, honestly, if you're holding the Philadelphia Eagles, who are at home, who have been on fire on offense, if you're holding the Philadelphia Eagles to what is it, 15 points? Like
Yeah,
that's,
if
I mean,
you subtract.
realistically, yeah. If you take away like that bullshit, I mean, that's impressive to me. That's going to win you a game. Even 22. If you hold the Eagles to 22 points, you need to score
Yeah.
more than 22 points. That's something that in the NFL, especially with the offense that we have and the firepower we have. But we were every single time anyone got touched, we got a season-ending injury from them, and it was just Josh Jacobs was inserting his will to keep everything afloat, and we just didn't have enough in the tank, and
I felt really bad for Josh Jacobs.
that was just such a. I felt like that was, and I don't know if it was just because I was drunk and sad and pissed ever since the first play of the game. Like the first play of the game happened, and I was pissed the whole game. I was
Yeah,
never not pissed.
I could agree
Um,
with that. I would be in the same boat. Yeah.
and I didn't know like if that was just one of the worst performances I've ever seen from the Packers ever. But like to me, like I know the score wasn't that way, but like I know our defense had some good plays, but to me, I don't remember any of them.
It could be a
All I
little bit
remember,
more lopsided too if Barkley kept running.
yeah.
It's just,
Um,
yeah.
but I don't know. I'm like
I can tell you're still irritated by it, and I would be irritated too
I haven't
because, like,
thought about it. I haven't even thought it. Like I've literally just tuned out football. Like I did watch the Rams Vikings game. I
yeah,
didn't even touch the Commanders Bucks game. I was so pissed. Um, but the Vikings Rams game I did watch, and like I will continue watching playoffs. The good thing is the Packers lost in the first round, so like I'm not going to be sour this weekend. I'm just like,
I,
or they
I,
lost early enough to where I can still enjoy the playoffs and act like I didn't. Because once you don't, if you like lose in the divisional or the NFC Championship, you're like, I'm not going to watch Super Bowl. You're so
yeah,
pissed. Like
I have
I can watch.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Are you worried at all about Jordan Love?
At this point, I think the locker room spoke after that game. I don't know if you probably, I probably just because I'm a Packers.
I saw a
Follower.
lot of talk about like the Packers have to go get a number one weapon. So like, is it they need a number one weapon?
I I
Uh,
think that's it. To be honest, I think that's it. I think we expected one of our four receivers to
to
become a true
become
number one.
one?
And Christian Watson, I still think is ready to just blossom. I think Dontavian Wicks is a really good player. I think Jaden Reed is a really good player. I think Romeo Dobbs is a really good player. I don't know what like I always thought it was Dobbs was going to be Love's go-to guy, and he would always be the guy that Love would throw to, with especially with Watson out. And
Yeah.
it like to me, it's like Love has a C chemistry with every one of those receivers, and he doesn't have an A with any of them. And I mean, is that on Love? Is that on the receivers? I think the defense and like Josh Jacobs, Xavier McKinney, you can tell they, like you were saying, they wanted number one. I think they maybe there's some tension with the receiver room, or people are mad at the receiver room. I don't know. Like Love never never blames other people, and LaFleur has been asking him to be more vocal as a leader to like on the team to demand
Mhm.
more out of the players. And I think it's like Love has been protecting in the past, like the mistakes of like a young receiving core. We're still the youngest team in the NFL.
Yeah,
Uh,
that keeps coming up a lot on a lot of like
Now he's
national podcasts is like Packers are still a young team.
well, we're the second youngest team to make the playoffs in NFL history. We were the first youngest team in NFL history last year. So like we're still really young. Um, and I think Love is just like the last couple of weeks, like when they lost to the Bears, he like we need more from these guys, and like he was like the same thing. He's like, but Tucker Kraft, I don't know. He said the last thing I'll say on this and the locker room stuff is, um, basically he's sick of. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he's like he doesn't think people aren't walking the walk around here.
Mm.
They're talking the talk on what we can be, and I'm going to change that and take more of a leadership role next season. And so like he's upset with some people, and I'm like, who is it? Who is it? Like if it's Xavier McKinney is saying the same thing, Josh Jacobs is saying the same thing, Tucker Kraft's saying the same thing. So you've got like some guys that are pissed and mad, and they never had said anything bad about Love. And I think everyone believes in Love. And so the team believes in Love. Love has all the talent in the world. I still think he's streaky. I don't think he's the perfect quarterback by any means.
Mm.
Um, but I mean, I'm happy with him, and I think he's fun to watch, except for that game.
It doesn't. I think it's overblown. Like the level of talent a quarterback needs to have. If you have the a decently talented quarterback in the right system with dudes around him, you're gonna be successful. Um, my second follow-up question to that is I get the like the young receiving room. I going into this season thought that Jaden Reed should take it to another level. It didn't look like he did, but my that's not my second question. My second question to you is offensive line. Is that what you guys need to go after outside of the number one weapon thing? Because like Nolan Smith was getting in there pretty fast.
Um, no, we need cornerbacks because Jair Alexander's gone. Jair's pissed. He's leaving. He just said he wasn't even going to interview the post, the closeout interview on Monday.
Yeah, you're
He
supposed to
said
interview with the head coach.
no. He's supposed to interview just with the media, and he said no because I'm not going to be here next year. Like
Oh.
he's like, I'm not even going to be here next year, is what he said. So kind of like the same thing Tyreek Hill said. Um, but yeah, like I don't see a world where Jair's there and our cornerback room's thin and not good, and we're not going to have Eric Stokes there. So to me, it's like we need to draft two corners. And what kind of sucks is I thought we did well in the draft. Our offensive guard slash tackle Jordan Morgan out for the year, so he didn't really play.
Mm.
But um, we could have drafted like I mean, we could have traded up two spots for Quinion Mitchell. We could have um,
Cooper DeJean.
drafted Cooper DeJean, both really good starters on the Eagles defense. I'm really happy with Edgerrin Cooper, our starter at linebacker. I think he's going to be a star. But
Yeah,
I mean,
he
it's
really
just like
came along.
our start.
Okay, and then
That's all I got on that game. But
obviously the Eagles played a good game. Jalen Hurts didn't blow up the stat sheet, but anytime you throw for 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, it's a pretty decent day at the office. Saquon still did his thing with 119 yards. Could have had more. Like I said, he did take a knee at the end in order to just kind of kill the game. Eagles defense stymied the Packer offense, and they advance on to the divisional round. We'll move into Sunday Night Football. We've mentioned this game a few times. I'm probably gonna have to take the lead on this one, but it was Commanders at Buccaneers. Commanders 23, Buccaneers 20. Buccaneers first half and most of the second half could do anything they wanted on offense when they threw the ball to Mike Evans or gave the ball to Bucky Irving. Outside of that, no one really could get anything going. Jalen McMillan, he was able to get a couple of good receptions from Baker Mayfield. Um, Buccaneers defense was able to slow down Jaden Daniels a good amount, but Jaden Daniels and this Washington Commanders team have a theme, and it is keep the game close, keep it within reach, and when it gets down to the final minutes of the game, Jaden Daniels has this ability to go down the field and either score a touchdown or a field goal in order to put the Commanders back up. And then the Commanders defense, if they have to make a stand, they're doing it. If Jaden Daniels needs to score with like no time on the clock, he's doing it. Their team right now is finding a way to win, which is very impressive for how young of a talent he is. I'm not saying their roster is young like the Green Bay Packers because they do have wily vets on their team. Like Austin Eckler had a pretty decent game, a couple key receptions out of the backfield. Obviously, Terry McLaurin's a seasoned veteran, and then on the defensive side, they have Bobby Wagner and then the two D linemen that have been signatures of the Washington Commanders defense for years. This game flipped when Baker Mayfield one play on one drive. They try to run an end around to Jalen McMillan, and he fumbles that. And then the ensuing drive, Baker Mayfield gets the snap count wrong. Him and his center are all like off on rhythm for the snap, and he fumbles the snap. And the Bucks didn't get the ball back after that. Jaden Daniels scores, and the rest is history. Commanders advance. Commanders 23, Buccaneers 20, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, that's the Baker Mayfield I remember too. Need to make a play sometimes, and sometimes he does exactly that, where he just turns the ball over, and it happens.
yeah, I don't know which team would have been more scary. The only reason I was really scared of the Bucks is because Baker Mayfield, and I think Bucky Irving's coming along. That running game's scary, and a Baker Mayfield with a running game, I'm like, I don't know. That if he's on, he's impossible to stop at some point. You know what I mean?
Yep, when he catches fire, he's very good. It's lights out.
I I feel like the Commanders can be solved, and they have been solved, and I think they're talented. I don't know. Like I just don't know. I think they're gonna get walloped. Um, I
I could
really
see a
do, and I
I
don't.
could see a walloping coming.
Yeah, I just don't see. I don't see them like they're not there yet. They need like 2 more years with Jaden Daniels, maybe a year. Uh, but
Yep.
that was yeah, that was okay. That was the matchup that was going to be a close game based on it was.
All right, on to Monday Night Football. Vikings at Rams, playing in Arizona though because of those California wildfires. Vikings 9, Rams 27. Another lopsided score. This one, I think, summed up is Sam Darnold just was not seeing it that game, and he was off from the get-go and never found it, never got into a rhythm, couldn't hook up with his two stud wide receivers, Justin Jefferson or Jordan Addison. Aaron Jones did what he could in the backfield, but the Vikings got down early and it needed to pass, so that eliminated the run game. and that's not how the Vikings win football games. And their defense got a little bit diced up by Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, and Kyron Williams, and the Rams jumped on them early, and they jumped on them often. And that Rams defensive line, being very young and spry, they just looked like they were coming off the ball humming, and they were coming after Sam Darnold.
Yeah. Are scary. And I think they have all across the board. The only thing you can say about the Rams that you're worried about, which terrible week to have this problem, I think their offensive line. I think their offensive line is the only thing I'm like, I don't trust it. But the play calling, the quarterback, the receiving core, the running back, the run, like that's offense can when they're on, no one's stopping them. I really believe they can score on anybody. And then defensively, they're so young that I believe like Verse is such a stud. I'm pissed that we didn't draft him. And Braden Fisk, I think he's hurt. Maybe he's not, but like he he's been a stud this season. They got Darius Williams. They got corners that are good. Um, what's Shula that that D coordinator? I think he's really put himself in a position to maybe even get like head coaching offer positions or interviews. But I would be not shocked if the Rams beat the Eagles.
Mm, I'd be a little shocked.
I think that can happen. I don't think the Commanders can beat the Lions.
Yeah, I can see your point there. All right, we'll head into second down. We're going to preview the divisional round for this week's NFL season. We got Texans at Chiefs, 4:30 Saturday. Chiefs, 8-point favorites at home. Chiefs, nearly 30 days since they've played a football game, basically.
That would be a successful weekend if they lost.
Yeah, I really hope they lose.
But it's not
I'm
going.
excited to see if the Texans can come out with that fire that they had last time. If they do, they have a fighting chance. I mean, the last time these two teams played in the regular season, it was only a few weeks ago. It was a decently close game. Texans just couldn't do anything on offense, and then they had that horrific Tank Dell injury, and maybe, that injury unites the team and they rally around it and they pull out a victory. Who knows? Next game we got 8 o'clock Saturday. Commanders at Lions. Lions 9.5-point favorites. Big spreads in this divisional round.
They're just trying to get all the bad games out of the way. So they put the two terrible games up front on Saturday. This will just be interesting to see if the Commanders can score every drive. Because if they can't, they really don't have a shot. If they don't score like touchdown, they need to score 21 points in the first half.
Yeah, I was probably gonna think like 17, like at least two touchdowns, bare minimum.
They'll have to score 34 to win. I'm going to guess 34.
34. That's a good guess. I'll go. So that means that you're kind of like guessing the under or the total points of the Lions. You're thinking the Lions will score 33 there?
I think the Commanders will score like 17, maybe 20. And I think it'll be like 37-20. That's my guess. 37-20 final score.
Mm, Final score for me, I'll go 31-26.
Okay.
One of those
One
games
score
where
game.
one of those games where not like the one score game where like you think it was like a close game. One of those ones where like the Lions are up by like two scores or something, and then they kind of sneak back in there at the last second.
Yeah.
All right, Sunday afternoon, three
Yeah.
o'clock. Rams at Eagles. Eagles 6.5-point favorites at home in Lincoln Financial Field. Matthew Stafford, he's got to play a good game in order to have any sort of chance of the Rams winning this one. I know you said you wouldn't be shocked if the Rams win. I just think that I would be shocked if the Rams win because I believe that the Eagles will be able to run the football in this game.
I think it's going to be 27-20 Eagles.
27-20. I'll take 28-17.
Okay.
All right, next game we got the big one. 6:30 Sunday night football. Ravens at Bills. Ravens are 1-point favorites going into Buffalo, going into Orchard Park and all those crazy Bills Mafia fans. How you doing?
Can both teams win in this game so that the Chiefs, like, can we just watch this game twice? Can we watch this game now? And then can we just eliminate both the Chiefs and the Texans from the playoffs? I want both these teams to win. Like, I like both. I know you hate the Ravens, as you should.
I don't
But
hate the
to me, it's like
Ravens
this is,
as much as the other AFC North teams.
and I don't know. I still haven't picked who I want to win. It's usually whoever is getting their butts beat in the first quarter. I think I'm going to pick them. Like that's whoever's losing early.
It surprises me
I'm
that the
rooting for the
Bills are
underdog.
an
But like
underdog.
it's crazy. That's I'm a little bit shocked by that too. But um, it's like I think Josh Allen's incredible in the playoffs. I think Lamar Jackson is, and Chiefs or Ravens Chiefs.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna lean in this one. But we're gonna head into third down, or are we gonna skip that and just go to pick 'em?
Just go to pick them.
All right,
That's what
let's go to
that's what
picks.
we were doing. We were picking.
Let's just go to picks. All right, after last week, because Cole and I still did our picks. After last week, Cole is 58, 53, and 2 on the year, just keeping his head above 500, and I am 66, 46, and 1. Only difference between mine and Cole's picks last week is Cole took the Vikings, and I took the Rams. That helped me out, sank Cole a little bit. Picks in week 18, Cole, were not good for either one of us.
I believe it.
All right, give
I believe I
me.
should have picked the Bears.
You did pick the Bears.
That was my probably my only win.
No, the problem was that we both took the Browns at plus 20.5, and that did not happen. Um,
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
all right, give me your pick. Give me the spread and then also give me your pick to win Texans Chiefs.
Texans Chiefs. I think it's going to be Chiefs spread, and no, I think it's going to be.
It's 8
I think it's going to be Texans spread, Chiefs win.
Texans. I also have Texans plus 8 but I have a Texans win because that's what I want, right? All right, Commanders Lions. Lions are 9.5 point favorites. What do you got? What do you got?
I told you Lions by 17.
Lions by 17?
Did you hear me? Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, I did not hear
They're
that.
going to win 37-20.
Okay.
Did you not hear it?
No, I didn't hear that at all. minus nine and a
I thought you were
half.
thinking.
No, I couldn't hear you. All right, next game, Sunday afternoon, Rams, Eagles. Eagles 6.5 point favorites. Who you got?
Eagles by 7. They win and cover.
Eagles minus 6.5. I'm gonna take the Rams plus 6.5, but Eagles win.
You just said you think the Rams are going to lose by 11. You said 28-17.
I did? Oh
And,
shit. All right.
and
Let's Sunday night football. Ravens Bills 1 point favorite Ravens. What do you got?
um, I'm going to go Bills. That's going to be a crazy game. I think it's going to be, I'll go like
Kind of can't.
35-33.
So you're going
35-33 Bills.
Bills? Okay. I'm going. I'm going Ravens. I'm going Ravens. Fuck it. And I'm gonna go 32 to 27. Ravens win.
Interesting.
Yep.
How
All
does
right. That's our picks for the week. That's our picks for the divisional round. Give me your national champion.
Ohio
I believe
State?
Cole said Ohio State. I am gonna
So I
go with
want it to be.
that's who you want it to be. I'm gonna go with Notre Dame. Fuck it. Fighting Irish fan. I hate both teams. Very upset with how the performance of Texas and Penn State went. Very upset by that. But that is it for MnM going deep this week. We will catch you all next time for the AFC and NFC championship games. Have a great week, folks. This has been MnM going deep.